you fine folks out there in internet land, and welcome to another edition of the OH.Report video podcast. I am Travis Berardi, once again filling in for Brian Skoronsky, who is under the weather, which seems like for the first time in his life, but we all hope you're feeling better, Mr. Skoronsky. Like I said, I'm Travis, and I am joined once again by our fine friends here, fellow Steeler fan and lover of Joe Burrow, Hayden Gray. How you doing, Hayden?
He's so cool. I'll admit it.
Also, our two larger friends, they're back together. They're like the Lions and Vikings somehow making trades together. It's G-Man and Storm. What's up with that, guys? You're inside the division making trades with each other in the draft?
We're frenemies. The Lions would have been dumb not to take that trade. So, I don't know.
Gee, we'll get into it. I know you and I were texting about this draft in the first round, but let's get right into it, actually. The 2022 NFL Draft, now in the books, took place Thursday through Saturday. And, you know, all of us really rooting for our teams to get things done. And, well, you know, for me, sitting in my favorite establishment back in West Virginia, throwing a couple expletives out there when they drafted one Kenny Pickett. But now I'm feeling a little bit better. You know, it's one of those things where you say, hey, you're drafted now. I hope you do well. But let's go over how we think our teams did. Hayden, you and I are Steelers. I was really hoping they took a secondary player, a cornerback, safety. They did not. Also, they did not get the Honey Badger who just signed with the New Orleans Saints. So I'm kind of angered about that. But how do you think the Steelers did in their NFL draft in 2022?
I do agree with you. I feel like there were some needs that needed to be addressed that we could have taken care of, especially, I'll touch on it in a second, but seeing how long it went for quarterbacks to go, we could have had some opportunities to do some different things with that first pick. But so while we don't address that and while we lose the Honey Badger today, I also felt like another area we could have maybe touched on a little bit was the offensive line. Now, Colbert may have some different things left in the bag for changing that. But overall, I know that there was going to be a lot of mixed emotions from Steelers fans about this draft. I personally, and it might just be as a younger Steelers fan, I'm personally really excited about it. I know I joked with you because as a West Virginia
we're going
fan,
back
I
and
know.
forth. He's from Pitt, too, but
Yeah.
I can get past that because, I mean, the only quarterback taken in the first 3 rounds, too, which was kind of a surprise, guys, that you didn't think Malik Willis maybe was going, Desmond Ridder was going to go in the first couple rounds, but it was only the Steelers that took Kenny Pickett. So hopefully it's the next Ben Roethlisberger where everybody thinks, oh, that's too high of a reach to get somebody. I do like the wide receiver picks, though, to replace Washington and Juju Smith-Schuster. So we have that. We got a good defensive tackle from Texas A&M, which I'm excited about. But I really wish they would have just locked down that corner and that safety spot, Hayden.
Yeah, and those are still some things that, luckily, I mean, fortunately, those can be addressed after a draft if necessary. But I like the youth. We had to bring in our offense, you know, especially losing Juju, like you said. We were starting to show our age a little bit, not just Roethlisberger last year. So I love George Pickens. He's an absolute menace, and I've seen a lot of things saying that he's going to fit the AFC North really well. He's a dog. He brings a lot of physicality, which is something we need. So we're just kind of reloading now that we have Najee. We got Pat Freiermuth, who's going to be, you know, a stud at tight end for us. We got Pickens out there with Deontay Johnson. In the quarterback position, just drafting Pickett, I don't necessarily, you know, some people are like, oh, why'd they do that? He's not the guy. We're forgetting that we do have Trubisky, and then we drafted the guy out of South Dakota State as well. So I think that'll at least boost the competition. Hopefully we will cut Mason Rudolph. But, yeah, I'm excited because I think, like, a new youth movement is here. I don't think that we're going to be Super Bowl competitors next year, but I think got a brighter future.
Well, I'm a diehard Steeler fan. I think we're always Super Bowl contenders.
God.
Going to a team that is never a Super Bowl contender, Storm Blunchley's Lions. Although you took Aiden Hutchinson, which is he should have been the number 1 pick. He drops to number 2. You guys get a stud there at linebacker.
Yeah, we really did. Honestly, there were a lot of good prospects in this year's draft, and I think the first 3 picks, they were pretty easy to make, honestly. Very surprised that Aiden Hutchinson fell to us. I was very happy about it, especially, you know, because he's a Wolverine. So I'm a little biased, you know, saying that, you know, I have high praise for this guy, but I think everyone does. And unfortunately, after that, I kind of tuned out. I was watching a lot more of the NBA playoffs, but I did hear that we kind of finessed you guys a little bit, G-Man, on the trade block this weekend.
Yeah, me and G were going back and forth during that first round, and I think neither of us were happy at that point of the night.
Yeah, I do want to add on the Steeler conversation though before I get into
Bring it in, please.
before I get into the Minnesota stuff. My question for the Steelers front office is they're drafting a QB who's going to be 24 by the age of training camp. So his first 4 years that he's under contract, and if it's a fifth-year option they pick up, he's going to be like 30. And you already got a bridge QB in Trubisky. Why sign Trubisky? Or why, like, ouch.
That was my question. That's
Like,
why I
is
was
he-
so bothered
well-
by the pick, because I think they should have taken – I honestly think they should have traded up to get that safety from Notre Dame that
Colin
rival Baltimore ended up taking, or even that the defensive back from Georgia that kept falling because the injured pec. I forget his name, but he was supposed to be a top 10, top 15 player, but instead of getting surgery, he dropped down into the second round and was a steal there too. So there was a couple guys that I think defensively the Steelers should have gotten, but instead they go for Kenny Pickett, a guy that I guess through his prime is signed through his rookie contract, which isn't, I mean, cap-wise that's great, but when you sign Mitch Trubisky and then bring him in, I don't.
Well, my only short answer to that would be, as far as I know, Colbert wanted to have 4 quarterbacks going into training camp. Obviously, Joshua Dobbs is now a member of the Cleveland Browns, and then we all unfortunately know what happened with Dwayne Haskins, so I think they wanted to refill that room, get some competition back, because we've had one guy for the last almost 20. It's time. We got to find that next key piece before and then build around that.
G, other than that, what did you like any of what the Vikings did?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little upset at the moment that obviously we traded back from 12 because I personally wanted Jamison Williams, even if, I mean, we don't need a receiver at all. We got Justin and Adam Thielen, but just take best player available, excuse me. But my thing was Kyle Hamilton was on the board at 12. So they traded back, and they just picked another safety in Lewis Seen, who I think is a good player. He's a first-round talent, but why not take the guy I feel like who's the better player in Kyle Hamilton? I mean, they got some capital out of it. We got a second-round pick out of it, which would go on to get Andrew Booth, who I think was probably our best pick of the draft. We needed secondary help, and we were able to get that. So I don't know if it's a complete failure of a draft. It was Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's first draft, so I got to give him I mean, he was moving up and down the boards. I think he had 6 trades on just the second day alone within the first 5 minutes, so it was kind of fun. But, yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know. It was okay.
We have a lot of time to talk about these players as we go throughout, but let's move on to the playoffs in the NBA right now. We are now in the round 2. Games 1 have gone off for everybody now, and let's just see who your favorite team left in this playoffs out of the East and West. Who is going to make it to the NBA Finals out of these teams? I'm going to start, and I just hope it's anybody but the mouthpiece Steph Curry. I'm starting to get annoyed by it. Chewing on the mouth. Every time they showed him against Ja Morant's squad, he was complaining about something. I just, they're like the New York Yankees, the New England Patriots. You either love your team or everybody else hates them, and I'm just tired of the Golden State Warriors, and I just hope somebody else comes out and wins it, like a Giannis squad or like Ja Morant's squad. They got to bounce back, though, because Golden State stole one in Memphis. But
without Draymond.
What are your guys' thoughts of these teams left here? I'll start with our resident NBA expert, Storm Blunchley.
Well, I like the babyface assassin personally. I like what he does. He did choke there at the end of Game 1, but it's all right. Klay Thompson's got his back, and so does Jordan Poole stepping up doing what he does. But the Golden State getting a big win without Draymond Green, which is something a lot of people thought they couldn't do that. I remember when
should that have been a flagrant too?
No, it shouldn't have. The NBA is kind of soft, but that's neither here nor there. But a lot of people, when Draymond was down in the regular season with an injury, thought that they couldn't get it done. They thought that they needed him, and they do. He played first quarter and the majority of the second quarter, but the ability to get it done without Draymond and having those bench kind of players step up for them, as well as Jordan Poole stepping up even more, as well as guys like Gary Payton III. He had a huge night as well, starting that game. So I got the Warriors coming out of the West, and as far as the East goes, with Joel Embiid being out Game 1 and 2 at least for Philadelphia, I really don't see a reason why the Heat shouldn't beat them and then go on to get beat by the Bucks, because Giannis is just doing it all right now without
Speaking
Chris
of
Middleton.
the Bucks, Giannis went to another level against Adam Thompson's Boston Celtics.
He
and
did.
They just steamrolled. I would say shocked, but it's Giannis. But
Well,
after just what the Celtics did to sweep the Nets, is it maybe a hangover from that? Or is it just Giannis is that good that his team can take
the
over?
defense that the Celtics played against the Nets was like physical, and that was kind of a way to combat Kevin Durant. He's not a very physical player.
They
Well,
bullied
Giannis
Kevin Durant.
welcomes
true.
physicality.
That's
He
true.
wants to play physical. So I think for the Celtics, they're going to change up how they play defense against the Bucks compared to the Nets because Giannis wants to get physical, and he's going to welcome that kind of physicality.
Hayden?
Well, I mean, it's obvious we all like the Bucks here, and I saw everyone was going to talk about them, so I'll just toss my hat in. I'll support Adam, and I'll say I still like the Celtics out of the East. And why do I like that? Well, of course the Bucks are great, and I think that would be a phenomenal matchup. We just talked about the feat that they had, knocking out Kevin Durant and Kyrie, taking out the Nets, not only just eliminating them, but sweeping them. So I think it's an overreaction to panic after one game. And expect that Milwaukee's going to be able to sustain that level of play for the entire series. They could, but I still like Boston to, make it competitive. And although it was close, and although Ja misses that game winner, I still think the Warriors. I still take them out of the West. I know, as Cavs fans, it is tough to get over that. I personally. I don't know if some people would try and come at my loyalty as a Cavs fan for it. My rift with the Warriors isn't as large anymore. I think my life's healthier not hating the Warriors every day I wake up.
Yeah.
Don't hate greatness.
I don't love them. I'm not rooting for them, but that rivalry's over between the Warriors and Cavs. So I don't see anyone else out of the West unless Chris Paul just can go on some godly level.
Which he did the other night.
He
but
did.
I think
He
they're
has
going
been
to lose to
going,
the. I think they could lose to the Mavs.
Right.
Also, Ski, I know you're watching out there. Anybody wants to get a comment in here, let us know what you're thinking about these topics. Please comment. I have it pulled up right here, at least on Facebook. Adam's watching the YouTube as well. He'll let me know. But give us some comments. We'll chat about what you have to say. But just wrapping things up with this topic, can the Celtics adjust and get back into the series? I know it's only down 1-0, but like you said, they were a physical team. The way they play defense, can they switch things up and match up a little bit more with the Milwaukee Bucks?
They definitely have the talent to. I mean, they got Jason Tatum, who I think has asserted himself as one of the dominant players in this league this year. He's kind of put that out there this year, put the league on notice really against that Nets series. But I don't know how else you'd be able to defend them. The Bucks are good, man, and I underestimated them when they played the Bulls, but the Celtics definitely have a chance. Like, I don't want to write them off. Like, it's not completely
It'll go to
over
7,
yet.
I think,
yeah. But I just think with Giannis, they're not going to be able to be physical with him because he's just going to bully everybody. I'll toss it a storm.
I mean, you can't guard him.
Yeah.
He's like that's like when you make a 2K player, but you make it like so you just are like a demi. It's literally a demigod build.
Well, with the NBA too, with all the fouls they call, like every time he goes to the rack, it's typically an and one. I feel like every time he goes, and he
worked on his free
He
throws.
does not miss from like 2 feet in because he just dunks it.
Yep, and he's been working on his free throws and his shooting. Those were two of his biggest weaknesses coming into this year. And I think that he's a very good defender as well. It's hard not to be when you have that length. But this Milwaukee Bucks team is elite defensively. Giannis can guard pretty much 1 through 5. Drew Holiday, an excellent perimeter defender, and Brook Lopez is an underrated shot blocker. He is a presence down low in the
And
paint.
scorer.
And scorer.
the
He can
basketball.
score
Listen,
too.
yeah.
He can step out. He can post up. He can do a lot.
Don't
so.
forget about Grayson Allen, too. They don't even have Chris Middleton, and Grayson Allen was dominant against the Bulls. I don't know how he's going to do in this series, but he's a solid player, and I think people write him off. The Bucks are deep, and they're playing without their second-best scorer, Middleton, too.
Yeah, and Grayson Allen's kind of like, the villain, too.
Yeah.
And he loves that role,
Yeah.
being the villain, which is something that team needed. Because I feel like everyone on the Bucks is so likable. Giannis is super friendly. Drew Holiday's a cool guy. Brook Lopez is hilarious. But Grayson Allen, that's their villain. That's their guy that everyone hates. So
Well, let's kind of stay with this and pose the question, pound for pound, who is the best NBA player left in the playoffs? And I think it's safe to say that it's Giannis,
You
right?
just said it,
I
yeah.
say it's Giannis myself, but I have to say Ja Morant has to be the best. He has to be the best player left in order for Memphis to pull
that's
off
the
this
difference,
victory. That's
yeah.
why he has to play like the
Ja
best
Morant
player
will have to be the
in
best
order to get the victory. But
Most
I
improved.
think right now it's all Giannis, but Ja Morant needs to play like it for them to move on, get past Golden State, and have a chance.
it's like
You guys take it away.
It's like, remember when everyone was giving hate to Baker Mayfield for all those progressive commercials when he hasn't done anything? You see how much?
What are they going to do with
He's
that?
See how
dancing.
much Ja Morant
Yeah,
dances
dude.
and
You better hope
they
tweets
have more
and does
commercials
all
ready for
this
him.
extra stuff. The last night was the first time he showed up in the playoffs to me, and they still lost. And he lost
he was
the game
awful
for them.
against Minnesota.
They had a prime opportunity to win the game. Ja Morant going to his left hand, got
And it wasn't even close on that layup
got
either.
the step by Klay Thompson and missed the layup. He had the prime opportunity. Didn't see him doing any dances after he missed that. Didn't see him
Damn, it is
tweeting after
dog
that.
day.
So
I want to see how he responds in Game 2 after that. Does he build from that and really take over, or is that hurt him enough to where
Memphis
he's just out of
played
it?
like one of their best games yesterday too.
Yep.
Without Draymond Green, Jaren Jackson
Yeah.
had like a career playoff high.
yep, he did.
Ja went off. Like they
were
played
rebounding really
yeah,
well.
they played really well, and they still lost. You can't stop Clay, Curry, and Poole. They can all shoot
Can't.
from anywhere on the floor.
Man,
You're
Poole,
not stopping
he's
all
such
three
a
of
great
them.
story,
You might
isn't he?
stop one of them.
That was my. I think Giannis is the best player, but I think Jordan Poole is the best player on the Warriors right now, and I think
I
that
agree.
he is a close second for the best player in this playoffs. The fact that he did not win Most Improved Player of the Year is blasphemous. That is a crime. But the dude, he puts up like 30, and this is his first real playoff run that he's had in his career. That is absolutely wild to me, and. Also, in my opinion, the Warriors are the most fun team to watch still left
I
in the
agree.
playoffs.
I agree.
I know there's a lot of people that hate them just because they're awesome, but
It's
when,
fun.
when they're clicking and
Yeah,
they're
it's
shooting
awesome.
threes from 40 feet, there is nothing like that.
G-Man, you're on Giannis, right?
Yeah, Giannis definitely the best player because I don't think you can stop him. I think he's like one of the only players left in the playoffs that you will not be able to stop regardless how you defend him.
It's like when you're playing on one of those hoops you put on the inside of your door inside, and
I
you're
have one
playing
of
versus
those.
your little
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
It's like he can't guard you. You just dunk over him every time. That's
Yeah.
what Giannis is. Treating these grown men like children, bro.
All right, moving to Hayden. Do you agree with Giannis, or are you going to stick with that team that you don't really hate in Golden State and go with Curry?
I still dislike them. It's just not as. I don't wake up in the morning, drink my coffee.
Is
and go,
Curry the Joe
"I hate the
Burrow
Warriors."
of NBA for you?
Aiden likes
Well,
the
no,
Warriors.
let me just say, we need to, I'll keep getting the tail end of these, all right? Everyone gets to take everything to say because we pay one guy. Well, we need to maybe rethink some of this that we're going after. But, yes, Giannis is the best player remaining in the playoffs. There's no debate. We wouldn't have even had to say anything. We could have said his name and moved on. But I guess I'll just toss. I tossed Curry out there. I didn't know if we were just saying best player in the NBA that's remaining in the playoffs or in this current playoffs, their performance through this point. So I still toss Steph Curry out there because the dude, I mean,
It's not
I
a
think
bad pick.
Nope, not at
It's
all.
not a bad pick.
No.
pick at all.
yeah. I
Especially
think that
when
if he
he's
has to
not limited to his
explode-
minutes either.
If
Yeah.
he's got to explode for points, he can still do it. Obviously, it's hard to compare Giannis and Curry just because position-wise and the fact that Giannis is like 16 feet taller, but we'll say
Plays
Steph
like
Curry.
It's an accurate
Pretty
measurement.
much accurate, yeah.
Now here's my thing. There's still 4 teams that have to play tonight still in the second round. Who on those 4 teams will be the best? In my opinion, I bet James Harden goes for 35 tonight. With no Embiid, I bet he does it.
I'm trying to think all the teams are left. Heat, Sixers. What's the other
That's
series?
the matchup, and then it's Mavs and
Suns.
Suns.
Uh,
I got James Harden the redemption game.
Luka or Jimmy going to have a big night tonight.
I got.
I'm going to go with Luka.
I'm going Jimmy, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I love
no
Jimmy.
one
man.
bet on
Everyone
the
I
Oh,
love
go.
Jimmy,
I wonder
dude.
why.
I love Jimmy. It's Jimmy.
Jimmy Buckets.
Hey, we kind of talked about the Heat earlier in a couple podcasts ago, but the
We
Heat
were
are
dogging
good.
on
The
them.
Heat
We
are
were
good.
dogging on
The
them,
Heat are
yeah.
good, and
They are.
They might give somebody some fits in the Eastern Conference Finals.
All right, let's head back to the NFL draft, and there were a lot of trades. We were just talking. Gee, you trade with the line. You kept trading back when you could have gotten. I know you could have gotten that safety from Notre Dame, but then traded back and got another safety that isn't even as close as being as good. But out of all the trades, a ton. I think there was a record 7 in the first round of the NFL draft on Thursday. Out of those trades, which one was the most shocking? And I will start with you, Hayden.
Thank you. Even though this time we do have different answers, but I will start things with I personally was most surprised to see Marquise Brown go to Arizona.
And I think Lamar Jackson was as well.
Yeah, his reaction summed it up pretty well. I don't think he was too happy about that, and that's interesting, especially since they're trying to get him re-locked down as their franchise quarterback. But anyway, I just think it's more surprising because they don't have a ton of weapons at the wide receiver position. I would say their best pass catcher is Mark Andrews, who's a tight end. and then they don't replace that in the draft necessarily with the guy who's going to come in, and so I don't know. I was just a little bit more surprised by that to hand him off. Now it's not in, they sent him to the NFC, so he's completely out of conference, division, all of that. But they hand him back over to Kyler Murray, who, those 2 years together, Oklahoma, those guys pretty darn good together. So, yeah, it was kind of a head-scratcher for me.
G, I think you and I are on the same, being baffled that A.J. Brown was traded from the Titans so the Titans can draft a wide receiver.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. You go from somebody who's a proven star wide receiver in this league, and then you go draft an unknown guy. I mean, I know that he definitely has potential. Treylon Burks does, but
he hasn't been
you got the guy
yet
on the roster.
Yeah.
He's on the
You
roster.
already have the proven guy.
And they got another. I think they got another pick out of that trade with Philadelphia as well that they traded to get somebody else. It wasn't for Malik. I saw that, but it was.
But they just packaged it together.
It was one of their picks they traded back up to get. So it was a 2-for-1, but still, it's A.J. Brown.
And what I'm reading right now, A.J. Brown. So we got 4 years, $100 million.
Yeah, that's the thing too. When they work out these trades, the contract's already settled before they make the trade too,
Right.
which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and this only says it's a $4 million cap hit, and if that's true,
Kyler,
that's pretty bad.
Look
for
at the
Titans,
Cardinals.
'cause that's
The Cardinals,
very,
they
very
had
low.
to jump up as one of the favorites now to at least win the NFC or at least compete with the other teams there because they have so many playmakers. You got J.J. Watt, you got Kyler,
Well, because
you
now
got the running backs. Like
with DeAndre Hopkins, that's what they were kind
Yeah.
of saying too. Marquise Brown really isn't a wide receiver one on any team. It would kind of be more of a middle of the pack team, but he's a solid too, especially when you pair him up with DeAndre. I mean, you're gonna have to take choices then. So he's a good fit for the Cardinals for sure.
and it seems like the Cardinals are doing what the Rams did last year, getting all these pieces. They're going all in now.
Well, they're going all in because they want to make sure Kyler Murray resigns.
He's
That's
gonna
what they-
win.
they-
That's
they-
true.
They traded for one
He'll
of his best
unfollow him
friends.
again, yeah.
They traded for one of his best friends, so trying to get him to stay. But I also heard that Odell and Jarvis might meet up in Baltimore. So
Oh no!
good luck for you two, because that's a rumor.
I
saw
don't
on
care. They'd
Twitter.
be dogging the Browns
Now
too.
listen,
so.
you guys don't want to believe my rumors, but did I not say Trayvon Walker was going to go top 3 a couple weeks ago? You guys remember this?
I don't know.
Because I said this.
I wish we could flash back in time.
Yeah.
I promise you I did. I know I did.
Well, you were doing that research. That's all you do. You like that that draft research. So
So-
I think we have our resident draft
Don't be
guru over
surprised
here,
if Odell and Jarvis playing for the Ravens.
Todd McShay, Todd G-Man.
What's
I don't know.
Odell doing? Tossing
G-Man
around the idea
McShay.
of Debo Samuel going to the Patriots.
Storm, you have
Be out there.
a little bit of a take that doesn't involve anybody that got drafted, but somebody didn't get traded.
Yeah, I didn't really watch much of the draft. I'll just be honest about it. But we got
As a Lions fan, nobody probably does.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
I'm sorry.
We all watched the first pick. We all watched the second pick, and then we were all done. But I heard, the GM was in his office. They were what do they call it when they're all in the room together?
War
Draft
room.
War room.
The war room. We were all in the war room doing a little moving and shaking. Just happened to be G-Man's Vikings on the other end of it. But so we made some moves too. But all Detroit teams, we all trade for people, and it never really works out. Like the Blake Griffin trade for the Pistons, it just I don't know. I got my fingers crossed. I think we'll be pretty decent. I'm happy with the moves we made, but I don't know
The
about it.
better pick for the Lions was Jameson Williams. It's going to work out longer in the long run. Aiden Hutchinson's a good player, but Jameson Williams, you guys' offense is going to be good. You still have Jared Goff, though, so I'm not
little
worried.
Band-Aid QB.
But once you guys maybe get C.J. Stroud next year, you guys will be a good team. You guys got a lot of young players on that offense. But
And,
that was a good trade for the
and
Lions.
speaking of quarterbacks, you didn't like the fact that Baker didn't get traded.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised that Baker did not get moved. I understand that no one wants his contract, but I figured they would give up anything to get rid of him. I mean, he doesn't want to be there. It seems like the organization doesn't want him there that bad either. So that was kind of what I was surprised for, that no team wanted anything to do with him.
the Browns will give him up for probably
Free.
pretty much anything. The only thing is no team wants the $18 million cap hit. And I think I saw a report that said the only way the Browns trade him is if someone takes a chunk of the chain. If the Browns take a chunk of the $18 million, like 9 or something, off the hands. So
They trade him for a janitor and
He's-
office supplies.
he's going to get cut. He's probably going to have to get cut because I don't think anybody's going to want.
What do you got, Hayden?
Well, I was going to say, because I've seen this kind of a speculation thing just on, kind of not wishful thinking, because I don't wish it, but since we're Steelers fans, I saw a thing once that said the Steelers would be willing to
Yes.
sign Baker Mayfield the next day if released by the Browns. What would you think about that?
I think we got enough quarterbacks now.
We're good now.
I think we got enough quarterbacks now. And another thing, we drafted another quarterback late on Saturday too.
He's a franchise guy though.
From what was it? South Dakota State.
One of those.
So yeah, I was even more surprised at that. We got 2 wide receivers, 2 quarterbacks, a defensive tackle, and like a linebacker, and that was it. But I digress on that. Baker Mayfield, would he be a good fit in Detroit?
I mean,
there's no need.
They're
already paying Jared Goff like $30 million a year. They're not going to pay.
Would he
Baker
be an
18.
upgrade from Jared Goff?
If we could get him on a
They're the
really
same
good
player.
deal, I'd like to see what he could do. I still think he has potential, but I don't know. I would like to see him play somewhere. I really dislike the Browns, but I'm a big Baker fan. I really do like Baker Mayfield.
Also, I do have a comment from our boss, Brian Skoronsky. Hey, buddy. GMG, man, always bringing those facts 100. So I wouldn't rule out Jarvis and OBJ reuniting in Baltimore. And I know you and I, Brian, we would not like that. Why
They're both
why they got
washed.
to I know, but why would they
washed.
stay in the division? We just have to worry about them again. They might have one of those,
Hey, maybe
old guy
Antonio Brown will
breakout
join them,
games,
too.
and just it's annoying.
Ravens don't even use their wide receivers
No.
anyway. I mean, they'll get like 300
Mark
yards
Andrews,
apiece and 2 touchdowns. They use Mark Andrews and they'll use running backs and then Lamar. So not much to worry about.
Yeah. All right, let's move to our final topic of the day. I'm going to change things up a little bit. Usually we have these things set in stone, but going back to the local scene, what's the best thing? What caught your eye in the last couple of weeks that really impressed you with local sports here in North Central Ohio? And I would start, surprisingly, head coach Tim Nicewander of the Madison Lady Rams. I was texting with him 2 days ago, and he said, "Hey, when's your tournament draft?" He said, "It's tomorrow." Are you kidding me? You guys have played most teams play 10, 12 games. They're already to the tournament draw. But yeah, yesterday teams now know their paths to Firestone Stadium. I know a couple teams we cover: Triway, #1 seed in their district; Hillsdale, #1 seed in their district; Lexington, #1 seed with Madison, #4; Bellevue, #2, and I believe Ontario, #3. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think there's going to be some lower-seeded teams that make it to a district championship just because these teams have not been able to play a whole week until last week. I think Ashland, they're in Division I in their district. They're a 7 seed. They have a chance of making a regional, but that's they have 3 districts grouped into one that separates. So #7 seed, I think they're like the 3rd best seed there. But I think with softball, you're going to see some teams that may surprise you on paper as they're seeding, but going into the year you expected them. Like Madison, I think a 4 seed. Them and Lexington facing off in the district semifinal. A winner of that has a good chance of going to a regional. So that's my take on the week that was. Hayden, what was your take?
I was over at Ashland on Friday and watched Ashland play Lexington in softball. So 2 teams that we just talked about, getting ready to square off, get into postseason play. And it was a really entertaining game. My takeaway from that is that Ashland is a complete team and can get the job done when faced with adversity. Lexington came out really strong. Raymer was pitching, and obviously she's one of their top players on the team. Was having a little bit rough start to the day, so Lexington got a couple run jump early, but then Ashland went on an absolute hitting spree. The end of the night was 17 hits total, but then Lexington made it interesting again. Just when you thought that they had some cushion, Lexington goes on a run, and they got as far as in the top of the 7th. They had the bases loaded with 1 out, and they were down 2. And then Raymer comes back in, finishes the game off. So they can buckle down when they need to. So I think those are 2 teams that are going to do really well in what you just talked about in the postseason. I think they've got a lot of depth, and they've got a lot of talent on the offensive and defensive side. So I would watch for both those teams to make it pretty far.
And another thing, this week Madison takes
Yes.
on Lexington for 2 games, so it'll be interesting to see that one. But like I just said, Ashland,
Yeah.
I saw them a few times. We saw them in the Wendy's against Hillsdale, but a very good team with really, really high hopes this season. And another team with high hopes, Storm, your Cardington Pirates. You got to see one of the powers in North Central Ohio last week.
Yeah, arg. Those Cardington Pirates, man, they are special. They had just gotten done beating Fredericktown by 10, I think.
Yeah,
either
walloped
the
them.
last night or the night before. I went out and watched them, and then Fredericktown jumped out to a 1-0 lead, and I was like, oh wow, hold on, and then just like that, Cardington Lincoln up 12 runs. I mean, they can hit. at an absurd rate. It is wild, and they can hit them pretty far as well. And they got a lot of speed on that team as well. That ball gets by the catcher, they are gone. They're probably good for 2 bases actually. So Cardington Lincoln, man, they are a premier team to watch.
Number 2 team in the state, constantly in a regional or even at Firestone Stadium. Literally one of the best teams in the state in their division. Now, before we get to our special time of story time with G-Man, Adam Thompson does pose this question about the NFL. Who starts first, Baker Mayfield or Colin Kaepernick?
Baker.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield.
Does Kaepernick ever make it back into the NFL?
I don't think
he was in.
Kaepernick will ever
Was
play
he at
over
Michigan's pro day or
Yeah.
somebody's pro day and threw and looked pretty darn good? But will he ever make it at least even back in, or does he go to the USFL, which we have lost interest in 3 weeks in? My Maulers, I don't even think have. I haven't watched since
You
the
have it,
first
you're 0-4.
game.
Oh,
You know,
4.
games. I didn't even know we
go
had
General.
4 games to do. But that's just been
Bandits.
disappointing. The USFL. We were all excited for that, and it just went.
Every spring,
Dude,
every
yeah.
spring football league.
Nothing can. hold
Can
the
Colin
NFL.
Kaepernick really, bring up the profile of a league like that? Though?
Yes.
I mean,
Why
because
doesn't he even
I
at
think
least
he's
try
got
and
superb
show off
talent.
there to get in?
I don't think he'll ever play for the USFL because I think that.
What about the XFL?
No, I
next
think
year?
in his
The
mind,
Rock.
he
I think
knows.
speaking
that
of The
he's-
Rock,
He's
happy
NFL
birthday.
talent.
he knows he's an NFL talent, and he'll never settle for less. Why would you?
Right.
I mean, there's no point.
I just want to get back out there and play football, but I mean,
That's true.
That's a good
that is
point.
what it is. All right, now it is time once again for stories with G-Man. Him and Brian Skoronsky were on assignment last week, and he ended up in Chicago for Game 5 with Milwaukee. I'm sorry with the outcome, but still, that must have been a fun experience being in Chicago for a playoff game. Go for it, my friend.
Yeah, I've been a Bulls fan for about probably 10 years now, 10, 12 years, and I've always wanted to go to Chicago. I really wish they would have been at home because I would have found my way somehow into the United Center. But, yeah, me and Brian, we had a good time. We actually walked to the United Center. There was an NHL game going on at Blackhawks, and I was trying to find the Michael Jordan statue because I thought it was outside. It's actually inside.
Yeah.
I didn't
Really?
know it was inside. I thought it was outside. They have a couple NHL players on the outside, but
Maybe they switch them back and forth? I don't
maybe.
know.
I don't know. So I couldn't find it. So I didn't get a picture with that. But we went out to eat. We had a good time watching. When they said Levine was out, I kind of knew.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of already knew before that they were going to lose. But Levine still gave us a fighting chance. And then Caruso was out. So I was like, well, I guess let's just have fun tonight.
Well,
don't worry about the game.
What was the atmosphere like down there in Chicago? I know they were down, 3-1
I think they
and
knew
stuff,
they
but was
lost. Because there was. I think I met more Blackhawks fans than I met Bulls fans.
it really?
Yeah.
So it wasn't as packed with.
No, like
No.
even in the airport in Chicago, there was more NHL gear than Bulls gear, and I was like, it was the first time the Bulls made the playoffs in 5 years. I was kind of disappointed, to be honest, that there wasn't more, it wasn't more electric about the Bulls, but they did get destroyed. So
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least you made it to the playoffs.
yeah, it's dope. It's a cool city, man.
You
I'm
see the
definitely going
beam,
back.
G-Man?
I didn't. We didn't have much time. We
yeah,
didn't have
that's
much
true.
time.
You're very
so-
busy.
But United
Chicago
Center-
isn't even. They're not good this year either, which is surprising.
No,
they're not even gonna
they're-
make the playoffs.
yeah,
But there's
they're
more.
bad.
That says something
I
though.
know.
When a team that's 8th in their conference out of like 13 teams is
Yeah.
getting more love than a team that's actually in the playoffs.
I know it was. I don't know. Since Jordan left, the Bulls haven't been the same. Hopefully, we get another Jordan someday. But
Well, it's like, yeah, once you have that taste of having, one of the greatest
Greatness,
players of
right.
all time, it's hard to settle for less.
Any last words, gentlemen?
go Vikes.
Go Vikes. Go Lions. Go Pistons.
Well, you should be rooting for the Vikings since you stole about 7 picks from them.
Oh, relax.
Go Warriors.
They didn't even steal any.
Come on, Jordan
We stole
Poole.
them.
Come on, James Harden.
Hey.
Hey,
We're out.
go Heat. I'm a Heat
Go
fan
Heat.
the rest of the
Okay,
playoffs.
G-Man owes me
Go
some-
Jimmy.
G-Man owes me Doritos.
Come on, Jimmy.
All right, my last word. I will be in Fredericktown tonight. Huge K-Mac title implications as Fredericktown, undefeated, takes on Centerburg. Freddyburg series. Centerburg wins. It's going to force a winner-take-all on Wednesday. Fredericktown wins. They clinch at least a share of the K-Mac, so look for highlights of that. And then we got a ton of highlights from the baseball and softball diamonds coming up this week, so stick with the OH Report. But for now, we out.